Shaun now a little bit more personally, get to know a little bit more about him. Shaun, it says on the packaging that there's 30 years, or more than 30 years of experience put into these baits. So tell me a little bit about yourself and where those 30 years of experience have come from and what exactly that experience is.
Always been interested in fish right from a little toddler. Start off like most kids with a goldfish in a bowl, progressed to bigger fish tanks and more fish, and I'd raided all the pet shops of every species I could find, I could buy, all cold water fish. The next thing, I'd started reading about fish then. I used to go to the library and I realised that we've got roach in this country, and we've got chub and we've got tench and we've got these incredible looking fish which I wanted to keep. And the only way I could see to get these things was to go fishing and catch them.
So what sort of age were you when you first started fishing, Shaun?
Oh, with the fishing net right from being toddler size. I just can't remember any times when I didn't keep fish. Eventually I'd caught the minnows, I'd caught the sticklebacks. I wanted bigger fish, so Grandad's fishing rod was resurrected. Nobody in my family fished in my years. Father and grandfather had fished, and there was various old cane rods about and wooden reels, and that's how I started off. I used to live quite close to the River Trent and used to fish Beeston Weir, and one day, I'd not actually been fishing all that long, but I saw some chap catching these really big chub. There was probably only a couple of pound, now I look back, but very big compared to what we was catching. And he was catching them on small minnows. I saw him doing that. I'd found a big hook somewhere which I'd been carrying around for the previous year, and I tied this big hook on, put a minnow on, cast it out into the weir, and bang, I caught a fish far bigger than I'd ever caught before. But the ironic thing with that, I started catching quite a few of them, but the minnows were actually harder to catch than the chub were. And it was a very quick transformation into specimen hunting, as people used to call it. From suddenly the reality that you could catch big fish, and they weren't particularly harder to catch than smaller fish, and I just quickly lost interest. I didn't want to fish with maggots anymore. I didn't want to catch little gudgeon and roach. I wanted to catch big chub. That led on to fishing for pike, which then led on to the carp.
You were telling me earlier that you'd got a photograph through, some feedback from someone who was fishing locally. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, it's a really nice story, this one. It's actually made my week, and hopefully next year it'll make my year. I've had a photograph come through. I looked at it and I thought, I know that fish. I was looking, I couldn't wait to get home and get the photographs out just to confirm. But I've had a picture come through of a fish that was a personal best for me in 1978.
1978?
1978. It was £17, 6 ounces, and the picture's come through this week. Somebody else has just caught it. I mean, I'm looking at that. If I can, it's quite local. I'm so tempted to have a ticket again. If I can catch that fish again next year, I'm going to have a 30-year gap of the same fish. The fish looks a lot older now. I certainly look a lot different to what I did when I caught it before. But yeah, it's just a really nice one, that. And it is also proof as well that we don't really do them a lot of harm when we catch them.
What weight is it now?
I think it's £27. It's not one that's grown an awful lot, but I'm not really into repeat catching fish. But I think after a 30-year span, it's forgivable.
Brilliant memory, though.
Yeah, well, I do remember fish like that. I saw the pictures and straight away I thought, I'm sure I know that fish. And it is. But I've set myself a little mental target as well. I originally caught it on a piece of free-line bread flake, and I'd really like to catch it on that again. I've got all the quest baits which I know will catch it, but I'd love to catch it exactly the same methods again.
Target for next year then?
Possibly, if time allows.
So we've covered when you actually started fishing and how you got into that, but when did you actually start producing or making your own baits to attract the fish in the first place?
I used to make custard powder paste. Grandma used to save me all her old bread she'd not eaten. I used to mosh stale bread up with a pack of custard powder, and I suppose that's really the first homemade baits I used. I used to use those. This was way before I was carp fishing. I used to fish for bream and tench or anything that would come along on Amber gravel pits, which was very close where I lived. Natural interest of that. I mean, it was amazing to catch fish on something I'd made. Then I think just a natural interest on there, then you start experimenting with other things. My mother must have gone to the cupboard so many times to pick a packet of something that wasn't there anymore because it had been in some bait. But I've just always had a fascination in producing my own.
And when did you move on to sort of the boilies scenario, that type of thing?
Well, I've actually been brought up as the boilie scenario has been developing and was born really when I started carp fishing. Certainly people around the Kent area were using boilies, but there was unheard of up our way, or I wasn't aware of them. So really I've used boilies from what I considered the birth of boilies when I was first aware of them. All the ingredients used to be incredibly difficult to get hold of. Then round about, I suppose 1978-ish, well it would be about 78, arrived with various ingredients you could sell them for. You used to be able to buy little tubs of High Pro, they used to call. And it wasn't long, it was only a couple of year period, but suddenly the tackle shops were selling ingredients and everything became easily available. I was very fortunate, I was working in a tackle shop by that stage. And from the first range of bait ingredients we did, with probably 8 or 10 different ingredients, obviously you learn what they do, other ingredients come in, and I had quite an easy learning curve because I didn't have to understand so many things at once. It must be a total minefield now, somebody coming into it, because there's hundreds of ingredients that we know get used, but it takes a long while to sort out what each of those ingredients do. Each year there'd be 2 or 3 more things come along, I'd do my experiments with them, another 2 or 3 things come along, and you're slowly building up a knowledge of bait.
Perhaps a silly question to some this, but not to me, I'm actually quite interested in finding out the answer, but was there a defining moment, a particular capture that sort of changed everything for you, that took you into that channel of carp fishing?
There's been so many really. I think naturally the first double figure carp you catch, that was an incredible moment. The first £20 carp I caught, the first 30, the first 40, the first 50, so many highs. I don't think I could pin it down to just one. There's been so many, and other species as well. I enjoy sea fishing. I've caught big sea fish. I enjoy salmon fishing. I do a little bit of everything. So it's such a brilliant sport. So many highs you can have in one lifetime. So many brilliant moments.
Thank you for that. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Thank you.